Thank you for joining us. It's a delight to see everybody here, both our community members and our supporters. And some of you fit in both of those categories. You're all part of the community. You're all supporters in different ways. So we're delighted to have you here. My name is George Buman. I am the chairman of the board of directors for the North Yellowstone Education Foundation, otherwise known as NYEF. And we're here tonight just to share with you some updates and what we're up to. I'm sure many in the community have had questions like, I heard that you bought the B&B property, and what happened to developing teacher housing on the school land? And what about the Jardine Road property in Gardner? Did you buy that? And are you going to do projects there as well? So there'll be time for covering those topics, as well as a Q&A at the end of our 20 or so minutes here tonight. I'm thankfully here with our supporters and our one employee that we just hired. We're quite proud of bringing Shelly Sidlazek onto our team to help our kids and our school, as well as Nico Koss, who's really been instrumental in getting us to where we are now, working with us in a part-time capacity as a contractor to get this group of volunteers to a stage where we could make a real difference for our kids, our school, and our community. So just quickly, I want to step back here on slide and give you a little brief intro to our agenda for tonight. It's quite simple, just welcoming you all here to tell you a little bit about our mission, who we are, what we're doing on the programs, the teacher housing initiative, and how you can learn more and get involved, and of course followed by the Q&A. So the foundation here is here to work with the community to build sustainable support and enhance educational opportunities for teachers, students, and the community members in partnership with Gardner Public Schools. And we're really proud of what we've been able to accomplish with our volunteer board. We have community members who are on our board in a volunteer capacity, but they also are financially invested too, so contribute to the overall mission of the organization that way as well. And we're very proud to have them in that capacity. That's how a lot of Gardner operates, and it's very challenging. And so we're even delighted more so to have some full-time help in the form of Shelly's work, and of course the additional help from Nico. We also have an advisory council, which includes folks from around the region, the community, but also nationally, who have expertise that kind of help us out in points of need. Like when we were hiring Shelly, some HR advice came from one of our advisory council members, and others have participated in the form of helping us with real estate logistical details. So they are instrumental to what we do, and a big part of taking this all to the next level. And so what have we been able to do? A lot. The organization has been really bold in stepping out front, starting back in 2016. And the whole reason to fill in a little bit of the history here is that Gardner Public Schools has seen a drastic reduction in funding. Some of this has come from the way students are handled out of the park, so including students from Wyoming and Montana. But also with the reduction in enrollment, we've also seen the funding for the school decrease, which has affected a lot of the beloved programs. It's also resulted in the school having to reduce staff. And a lot of these programs that have made Gardner Public Schools literally #1 in the state in the past are things we want to keep in our community, to have that rural Montana feel, but also a world-class education that sends our kids off to, as many have in the past, gone to Ivy League schools and around the world to amazing job opportunities and to fulfill amazing lives. So what have we done in our first few years? We started in 2016, just a bunch of parents wanting to make a difference. And in 2018, we got our 501c3. So all contributions are tax deductible. And then we just started with a bang. And to list off our accomplishments, in this few short years, we've raised almost $1 million to support Gardner Public Schools and associated programs. We're really proud of that. And we've developed a strategic 3-year plan with the help of a nonprofit consultant. We've started a classroom grants program, which to date has funded over $46,000 in programming and opportunities for our kids that they honestly would not have otherwise. We acquired our first property, and this was a big step. This has been a very bold, big step for us to dive into creating teacher housing. And we have a situation in the community where real estate has just gone through the roof. And as our older experienced teachers retire, the opportunity for a younger teacher to move in and actually own a home here with their salary is virtually non-existent anymore. So we're really trying to help fill that gap and make education in our town sustainable. And keep in mind, if our kids can't go to school here in Gardner, the next closest school that could fulfill that role is in Livingston, 55 miles away. So you can see why we're so committed to making this work for our kids in our community. We've also become the fiscal sponsor of the Park County Rural Schools 360, a project that helps extend the reach of behavioral and mental health assistance for children in Park County. Unfortunately, Montana ranks near the top or at the top for mental health challenges and sad to say, even suicide. So we're trying to step ahead of that curve and really help our community on a couple different levels. And last but not least, I've mentioned it already, is hiring our first full-time employee. As many of you who volunteer know, it's really hard to sustain the long-term sort of support we need for the school and the community with purely volunteer assistance. Shelly has been amazing. She started in January. She's been a longtime member of the community, and she has an incredible skill set, mind, and personality to make this succeed. So thank you to her for being willing to join us and take this all to a new level, because it's just that important. So at this point, I would love to turn it over to Nico, because she's been intimately involved in helping run our classroom grants program and other projects. Nico, you want to take the wand from here?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the lovely introduction, George. I'm going to talk a little bit about NYEF's 2020-2021 programming, and a lot of stuff that George already touched upon. I'm just going to go a little bit deeper. So over the course of the past year, from January 2020 through now where we are in May, almost June of 2021, we have been following our strategic plan that we outlined that really helped us refine our focus as an organization and figure out what we should say yes to and what we could say no to in order to create a more cohesive programming mission. And I like to think that our programmings kind of fall along the lines of thinking in the school, in the community, and in the world. So in the school, we have our Connect Grants program, which is a classroom grants program. It's in its third year, and as George already mentioned, we have awarded $46,000 over the lifetime of that program. Connect grants are awarded in 3 cycles. We review grants in October, January, and April, and those align with the first 3 quarters of the school year, with everybody's final reports due at the end of the school year. Something really awesome about Connect grants is that they are community evaluated. So we have a team of volunteers who review all of our grant applications. I see some of you in the room tonight. Thanks. Mm-hmm. Shout out to my selection team folks.
Thank you.
They review our Connect grants. We use a standard rubric that kind of gives us a numerical score, but also, as I'm sure you can understand, it can be rather subjective. So it gives us a chance to dig into any questions that folks have, really review them in a comprehensive way, and then make recommendations to the board about programs that we would like to see funded. And you can see a list of some of our great funded projects there on the screen, and that is just a small selection of the amazing work that we've done. Because the amazing thing with classroom grants is honestly a little bit can go a long way, funding field trips, funding equipment, all sorts of things that we like to do with that program. So one other thing about Connect grants that I want to talk about before I move on is that through Connect grants, NYEF has been able to broaden our scope and serve even more students and even more teachers in the community by allowing applications from other educational institutions in the region and also non-affiliated organizations. And so Of course, our mission is to serve Gardner Public Schools, but it is up to our selection team at the first level and later our board to determine if the spirit of an application ultimately serves Gardner Public Schools. So a great example of that would be a recent application from the Gardner ski team. They're not officially affiliated with Gardner Public Schools, but we know everybody in Gardner really loves that program, and we love to see that for our kids. So we really feel like supporting that, honoring that, having a more inclusive attitude towards grant funding, it really does support students, teachers, families in our community. And there are also instances when supporting some of our pre-primary opportunities in the region, like Little People's Learning Center or Snoopy School, that does ultimately support Gardner Public Schools. And kind of the third way we see that shake out is when rural schools need to band together to be stronger together. And that's actually a really great way for me to transition to our second major area of programming, which is the Park County Rural Schools 360 program. So Park County Rural Schools 360, it's also known as PCRS 360. Are you guys getting that echo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can everybody who's not me go on mute? I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay. So Park County Rural Schools 360 is an initiative that was formed and kind of an alliance across 5 school districts in Park County. So it's basically all of the school districts in Park County, Montana, with the exception of the bustling metropolis of Livingston. So all of us little guys who we didn't really know, not any of those schools on their own really had the financial ability, nor really on paper the level of need required to justify a full-time behavioral analyst or really bringing more mental and behavioral health resources to the school. When you figure we only have 145 students in total, we can't meet the numbers that like Medicaid and some other federal programming would require us to have to get the kind of help that our students really deserve and need. So these schools banded together under the umbrella of Park County Rural Schools 360 to hire a full-time behavior analyst, to implement yoga in the elementary classrooms, and do a whole list of other really great programs to serve the mental and behavioral health needs of our students. I really like to say that we're all willing to make sacrifices to live in a gorgeous place that we love, but the mental and behavioral health of our children should not be one of them. And that leads us to my third programming area that I'm just going to touch upon because I will be turning it over to Shelley in just a second. But our third major programming area for 2020-2021 is our teacher housing initiative. And that is really our big major push program. We're all working our tails off to get that off the ground. And I'm going to let Shelley really sing the praises of that program. But I will just say that we've made excellent strides this year. We have really exciting things to talk about. And we'd love you to save your questions about that till the end. And with that, I think I'm gonna turn it over to Shelley.
Thanks, Nico. Well, before I dive into teacher housing, I just want to say thank you to everyone for taking the time to participate in the call. I know we all have Zoom fatigue, like COVID fatigue. So I apologize that we have to connect this way for right now. But we felt it was important with me just starting in this position in January and all of the great work that's been done to really give the community and our supporters from far away just kind of a quick update in terms of where we're at, where we're heading, and give you all the ability to answer or to ask any questions at the end of this meeting. So we are going to leave plenty of time for that. But thank you for attending. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your warm welcome in the community and in your donations and everything to make this reality going forward. And I want to just take a minute to thank the board of directors. I stepped into this job and I was floored at how much great work had been accomplished before I even arrived. So they paved the way for me to take the ball and run with it. And I'm just really grateful to be in this position. It's been really, really fun and really rewarding. So with that said, we'll jump into housing. So you've got a couple of bits and pieces of information out there, but you can see on your screen, this is a picture of the property that NYEF acquired back in November of last year. And I'll get to that in a second, but affordable housing has been identified as the #1 concern for residents when they were surveyed in 2019 as part of the successful Gardner campaign. I'm sure everybody on this Zoom call knows the prices of housing all in this area, and even in Bozeman, are just incredibly high. So the last figure I have is that the average home in Gardner was about $485,000. I just looked today, there's actually a new house listing for $699. That's better than the $985 one that was listed several weeks ago. But not only are homes priced out of out of range for a lot of people that live here and work here, housing just isn't available. So, you know, the housing situation has really impacted the school's ability to hire and retain teachers who start in this community with a salary of about $35,000 a year. So if you do the math, you can see the discrepancy. So long before I started, back from 2018 to 2020-ish, NYEF and the Gardner Public School worked together in collaboration to develop property that the school owns adjacent to the school. The land also has a section governed by Park County, and it's bordered by federal government land. So the logistics of that to develop that property made it quite challenging, and the project was expected to take several years and many, many millions of dollars, especially now with construction prices rising. So the plan was, we actually pivoted as an organization because we were approached with an opportunity back in the fall of last year to purchase this bed and breakfast that you see on your screen. It's at 506 4th Street on the corner of Water Street. I still somehow get lost sometimes trying to find it in the small town of Gardner because it's tucked back there, but I'm just trying to make you guys laugh. But anyways, we have pivoted, and we had a wonderful anonymous donor who was able to offer us a low interest loan so that we could acquire the property before somebody else scooped it up and actually took it from out from under us. But going back to the school property, so we pivoted from that. We do have survey work done. We have plans and legal documents that are still in our back pocket, and it's unclear whether or not we're going to move forward with that, if and when. But if the right time arises, we do have the ability to pick that project back up. So that was work that was well done and funded through grants and otherwise. So it continues to be an option, but we're not pursuing it at this point. The board of directors did decide that we would get through this first phase of housing right now, which is to actually renovate this property. It's a 3-story building, and actually convert it into a few different apartments. At first it was going to be 3, now it's 2. We're trying to manage costs with that, but there is the potential to have 3 separate units in the future. Right now we're focusing on having 2, and we actually do already have 2 teachers from the Gardner Public School identified that are in need of housing. One is actually living in there right now temporarily for 6 weeks because he was in a vacation rental over winter and had to be out by the end of April. So he literally had no place to live. So obviously the conditions are livable. We wouldn't have put him in there if they weren't. But our goal is to obviously do some major renovation to make this a really nice place to live and make it affordable for teachers. So the goal is to, when school starts back in August, to have at least 1 teacher housed in there. And probably a couple weeks later, I'm working with the contractor right now, but the second unit would be available. So by this fall, we will have 2 teachers that have full-time year-round housing on this property. The other thing that I'm sure you might be asking yourselves is, because I know I heard a lot of rumors when I first started. So there's this house, this property up on Jardine Road. It's a home that was formerly owned by Yellowstone Forever, and I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. But it's a house with 4 acres, and NYEF did actually explore acquiring that property, and made the decision that actually we should finish phase 1 of housing first before we take on more than we can actually handle at this point, and we want to be fiscally responsible. And we also have a loan to pay back for this actual bed and breakfast property. So we did not purchase this property. The Human Resources Development Council in Bozeman actually purchased it, I want to say back in August of last year, with really good community intentions. So that is not going to be made into short-term vacation rentals. They've already committed to making it some type of affordable community housing in Gardner. And we're obviously working with them as a partner to be a resource to them, to help them figure out what to do with it long-term. So that's pretty exciting that they're actually holding on to the property just so it doesn't get scooped up by somebody else. And they are paying a mortgage on it. So they're anxious to start moving forward with something, but it has to be right for the community. So just to set the record straight, we did not purchase that. We are obviously working with them for the best use of that property. Let me think, what else did I have on my agenda? So you might be wondering how we determine who is going to move into NYEF housing. Right now, it was pretty easy because we've been working with Mike Bear at the school and also getting word out to teachers at the school to find out who's really in need of housing. And there were 2 people that were identified who needed housing quite urgently. So that decision was pretty easy. So we have those people already on the list ready to go in to those units. We're trying to get the word out and work collaboratively with the school on if any new teachers come into the area, that they get on a list. And we are also in the process of working on an application process so that it's really fair in terms of how people get prioritized to go into our housing. On the flip side, you might be asking, well, what if you have housing and people don't need housing and you can't let something sit vacant? We are not doing the vacation rental thing. That's anti what we're trying to do here. But we are willing to open it up to other school staff, as well as schools like Snoopy School and Little People's that actually we consider like feeder schools in a way, that will eventually move into Gardner Public Schools. And the goal is that we want to provide affordable housing that's lovely and nice so that people want to stay in the community and we don't continue to lose good teachers because housing is obviously a major impact for them. So the other thing I wanted to mention, because we just had a board meeting recently, is we had a really, really long debate about what to charge for rent. So we obviously have expenses to cover every single month with the property. And eventually we'll have a property manager that will help me take care of this, because I have been spending a lot of time on the housing piece of things, which has been really fun, but it's not my #1 skill set. So I could use some help with managing that down the road. But we're affordable housing, just to clarify that piece too, the federal government typically defines affordable housing as when it consumes no more than 30% of a household's income. So that is the number that's been used all over, and that's what the board started with. And we determined that the rent will be $700 per unit, which when you factor in utilities and all that, and NYEF is going to cover propane, which is a huge expense, especially in the winter. But that's roughly 27% of a teacher's salary. So we're coming in below that 30% marker, which is what we targeted. And again, it was a really good debate. People are really passionate about this. We are not making any money on this because obviously our goal is to support the teachers and keep them here in Gardner for our kiddos. So the last thing I want to talk about, I think before I just close and then open it up for questions, because I feel like I have 5 minutes left that was supposed to be for questions. So I'm rambling on when I told everybody else, please don't ramble. But phase 2, we're obviously exploring other things once we get this bed and breakfast completed. What were our learnings? What are we planning on doing going forward? There's many different options, including acquiring additional property, doing subsidies, working with local people in the community to see if they would provide affordable rent for teachers and hold some units specifically for school staff. So I think I covered everything, and I hope there's good questions about this. So George, can you just put on the last slide? I just want to make sure everybody knows where to find more information. We're in the process of updating our website, but you can visit us at gardnernyef.org for more information. Please sign up for our quarterly newsletter if you haven't done so already. You can sign up to be a selection team committee member with Nico for Connect Grants, and the next round is October. If you're interested in the community, I know everybody has a zillion volunteer things that they're doing, but we always love help. We are holding our Festival of Trees event in person again this year, December 4th. At the Gardner Community Center. So for those of you that can make it, more information to come. But if you're interested in helping plan a big fun event, please let me know. If you would like to make a donation, you can visit our website as well. And also we are gearing up, for those of you that are local, the Give a Hoot fundraising campaign through the Park County Community Foundation. We have the opportunity to get up to $10,000 in matching funds from donors as part of that. So that runs from July 1st to the 31st. You'll be getting more information. So if you so choose to help us with a donation of any amount, we would be so grateful for your help. I think that's it. Whew. Questions? Do we want to open it up now?
Good job, Shelley. Good job, Nico. Yeah, please feel free to ask any and all questions you may have in your mind, or ask for clarification as well. We're really, really proud of what we've done. And to be fair, we've probably been so busy in the trenches that we haven't really told the community everything that we've been up to. So we're delighted to have this chance.
And if you're more comfortable too, putting it in the chat, typing it in the chat, we can always answer that way as well if you don't want to be identified.
I have a question.
Hi, Jessie.
Hi, hey, thank you for inviting me, and thanks for this great presentation. Unfortunately, my internet bonked out in the middle of it, so I just had a clarifying question, and I'm sure you covered it. I just missed it. But did you say that there was a bed and breakfast option in addition to teachers' housing, or is that sort of the same concept, a bed and breakfast as teacher housing?
Yeah, sorry. So we purchased a property that formerly operated as a bed and breakfast. And I guess we need to get over the terminology of calling it the B&B. We need to name it something else. But it's no longer operating as a bed and breakfast. We're converting it into separate teacher housing units.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Thank you for asking that.
Yeah. And I will say it's been very heartening to see how many folks have reached out to us who may be selling their property or leaving town for any number of reasons, that have reached out and said, hey, would you like first crack at this? And that happened a few times before we decided to pivot away from the school property. And it just wasn't a great fit. You know, we didn't have the capacity to create enough units that we thought would be most fiscally responsible, you know, with the grants we've received and the donations that have come in. So the B&B actually ended up being probably the best option that had come down the pike. And so we're delighted to actually be moving on that.
There's some questions coming through on the chat. I'm not sure if I'm the only one who can see them or if other people can see them or not. So I'll just read this off. I'm also not sure if this person wants to be anonymous or not, so I just will keep it anonymous. But in the chat, it says, I would be interested in seeing the plans for the new units. A dumpster showed up. Will there be a new roof? Then it
Good
says, okay, yeah, we'll take them one at a time. Okay.
Yeah, I can answer that. So we actually, we're planning on starting renovations next week. I'm finalizing some things, meeting with the contractor again at the property on Thursday or Friday. Now I don't remember. I got to check my calendar. But we are meeting to do a final walkthrough with the quote that came through and potentially make some adjustments because, as everybody knows, construction prices are extremely high this year post-COVID. So we're going to walk through and make some adjustments so that dumpster will be there throughout the entire project, and the goal is to have the project done by the fall and cleaned up. And I'd be happy to share the drawings with everyone. I can find a way to upload it to our website or send it out as a link. That's not a problem. And then what was the other part of that question, Nico?
Will there be a new roof?
There is no plans to do a new roof at this point. All of the renovation work is on the interior part of the building.
Okay, and then next question, who will maintain the exterior, lawn, yard, etc.?
Good questions. I'm so happy we're getting into the weeds because this is my world too, and I love talking about it. So I'm working to identify a property manager who will take care of that piece. So it's my understanding there are underground sprinklers. There's a grass in the backyard. Claire, I love that you're having a glass of wine, by the way. Cheers. So that will be not the tenant's responsibility. That will be our responsibility. And I just want to make it very clear too, as part of our discussions with the board, we are very cognizant of what's happening with neighbors in the area and parking situation and all of that. And that's why we're being very aware of how many people we put in that unit and what impact that has on the community. So
yes, the next question is there adequate parking available? So just
yeah, there are two identified spots right now for those of you that are familiar with that, and you can park in front of the building along the road. I also know when there was an RV park there a couple weeks ago, it was kind of tight getting through there. So these are all things that obviously it's so important to us to be good neighbors. And for those of you asking these questions, I'm assuming you might be living near that area. We just need to have an open line of communication to ensure that, you know, if there's any issues or anything that we are able to solve them, but we are thinking through all of that. So right now, there's 2 parking spots available with one that can be right in front of the house. So technically 3.
Okay, next question, a little bit of a different question. Maybe even directed at, maybe George would be great to answer this. I'm not sure anybody can field it, but it's, what is the attrition rate of teachers out of the Gardner school system? Do you feel like it's stabilized or worsening?
That's another great question. And there's a couple things at work. We definitely have had such a great education program at the school because we have a lot of senior teachers who've been doing it a long time and know their stuff. And by last estimates that the school board had reviewed, we may be in line for as many as 5 to 10 teachers retiring in the next handful of years. At a different side of the coin, young teachers, they're in the early stage of life and they move in and out at higher rates than folks who maybe already have kids and are settled in the community. So we're trying to balance out what we expect to have for folks who may be moving in versus how many we think we're going to lose. And one of the key pieces is any teachers who retire, our odds are not leaving the community. And even if they do and sell their homes, they're not going to be available financially speaking to any new teachers. And with any nonprofit, any business, any public entity, when folks retire, the natural progression is to hire folks who are lower on the wage spectrum and salary spectrum. So we anticipate it just being younger teachers that are going to be coming in, but also trying to hedge a little bit toward, if we do end up with administration or teachers who come who have families, being able to accommodate them too in a way that is comfortable and nice, and expresses the appreciation of certainly the foundation, but the community as a whole, so they want to stay, so we can carry on this tradition of high quality education.
And if I can just add to George, your comment, I should have probably talked about this earlier, but the two tenants that are teachers that will be moving in are single, with a dog. So we are allowing one pet per unit. But strategically with the renovations, we're ensuring that we have the ability to house a family going forward. So they're not studio apartments. The bottom unit's going to have 2 bedrooms and 1 bath, and then the second and third unit can either be 1 unit or separated into 2. But total for the second and third floor, there's 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, and there will be a larger kitchen. So obviously the plan is we don't have a crystal ball to know exactly who the school is going to hire, if that person comes with family or not, but we're trying to future proof and think ahead about how we can accommodate good skilled teachers for Gardner.
Okay, and the last question that we received through the chat is, does Give a Hoot take a percentage of donations, i.e. is it better to give directly?
Good question. No, they do not, which is the great part about being involved in this. And the nice part is they do a percentage of that. You can get up to $10,000 as a match, but it depends on how much we actually raise. So we could get, tap out at the 10,000, but there's like about 65 nonprofits in Park County that actually participate in this. So if you make a donation through that would be great. And then we have the opportunity to get that match.
Yeah, and
but
I will say,
done by July 31st.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks, Shelley. I will just add to that. You will see, if you go to make a donation on their interface online, that there will be an ask about paying for the credit card fee. So that's the only thing you might see relative to anything above and beyond your donation. You can opt not to cover the credit card fee yourself, or you can opt to do that. So that's your choice.
Yep. But 100% of the donation comes to NYEF.
That's correct.
And Park County Community Foundation has been really good to us. They're a really, really good partner. So
yeah, they've helped us immensely. And I just to address our funding so far, we've been very, very lucky to receive not only grants from Park County Community Foundation, but Arthur M. Blank Foundation West. The Gardner Resort Area District helped us with a grant to help with the renovation at the property for teacher housing. All of your support, our community members' support, and certainly others that I'm sadly leaving out because of my own memory and for the sake of brevity. And
the Orstrom family and the Orstrom Foundation. Yes,
that has been that gang, the Orstrom gang has been instrumental in ways that we could not have even foreseen. And we are incredibly thankful for their support. And they've been right there with us lockstep in diving into this area of creating teacher housing and how to fund. When we lost our music program, I mean, you probably remember we lost our music teacher and we lost a science teacher, and amidst, the planning process for the teacher housing on the school property, just even in that time window, we were losing staff that we really valued. And so they've been right with us from the beginning, helping us along and making connections that we just really, really appreciate.
I feel like we could do a last call for questions. If anybody else has anything, if they want to clarify or ask anything else. And while everybody's thinking about that, we'll let everybody simmer for a minute, because sometimes it takes a minute for the question to bubble up. While we're doing that, I'm going to give one last shout out for our grant selections team, because I'd really like to champion it as a low time commitment, yet fun and effective way to get involved with NYEF funding and with the community on a really concrete level for things that students and teachers really need. So just going to put it out there. The next time we'll review grants will be in October, and it really only takes I'd say an hour, maybe 2 hours max of your time for each review round. So if that's something you think you might want to be involved with, please contact me. You can email me at the regular NYEF email, info@gardnernyef.org.
Yep. And I'll just go ahead, Shelley.
Sorry, the last thing I was just going to say, you can use that email too, or email me directly at shelley@gardnernyef.org. If you have comments, concerns, feedback, questions that you didn't have time to ask here, or it just bubbles up overnight. So definitely we are very interested in being a good neighbor and a good community member, and we're trying to help the school. So would love to hear from you.
Yeah, and that's a great lead into what I was thinking, Shelley, because we've really, since the beginning, really made an effort to be as transparent as possible, and the neat thing about Gardner as a whole is that a little bit makes a huge difference in this community. And this organization is small enough and it's been nimble enough to really take advantage of some amazing opportunities and form some really amazing partnerships, but also to pivot and be flexible as things come up. So if there are things that you see on the horizon or think we may have missed, or, this is your organization. We are the caretakers as the board, and the employees, but we're really committed to being a grassroots voice for our community as the winds of time and change sort of have their way with our town. So let us know, reach out to myself, reach out to Nico or Shelley, and just let us know your thoughts, and definitely get involved if you can. We've got a spectrum of levels of involvement that might be just as simple as helping a day or a couple hours of a day, all the way up to our advisory council, board member positions, et cetera. So thanks. Nico, any more questions pop up?
We just got to volunteer for the selection team. That's all.
Yay.
So.
Nice.
Excellent. And one of the reasons, a great example of why, we're really making an effort to reach out and involve as many folks from the community, as many different opinions and backgrounds as possible, is the grants committee was a perfect example where some folks were like, hey, wait, are you funding stuff that isn't Gardner School? And should we donate if you're funding things from other schools? And we said, well, we are, and here are the reasons. They help Gardner School. They feed into Gardner School. Join us on the selection committee and let those folks with those opinions help us evaluate this stuff from the range of opinions that exist in our community. So we've been really proud.
That person who raised those concerns did join the selection team and has had wonderful opinions. So it is really good to get different people's perspectives. Some folks on the team are parents, some people aren't. It's good to get a range of views.
Right.
And honestly, I feel like it gives us good insight that we can apply to other things we do in NYEF. It helps us get insight into the way our community feels about different things that we can apply to our other programming areas as well.
Yeah, agreed. Well, thank you all. Thank you everybody for attending tonight. Those of you who tuned in live, we were going to post this. This is being recorded, so it will be available online here at some point in the near future. So if you want to share it with others, and for those who couldn't attend tonight to see it in person, they'll have access to it going forward. So thank you all. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Nico. Thank you, Shelley, for helping put this together. And may we continue to have a strong school, educated kids, and a healthy community. Thanks.